Hello there, folks. How you doing? Okay, so we're back over here today. We're going to be talking a little bit about Scottish independence because we're going to be discussing Boris Johnson's response to Nicola Sturgeon regarding Indy Ref 2. So we're going to be talking about that. But before we get to that, I want to go ahead and explain a few things because the question keeps coming up, right? Okay, so why am I talking about this, right? There's been a few people asking. So here it is. There's a couple of reasons that I'm talking about this. Not that I need anybody's permission or anything like that, but in the interest of being open and honest, the fact of the matter is number one, if you know me, you know my last name is Scottish. Okay? So there's one. Now, does that mean I'm Scottish? That means I have a right to talk about whatever? Well, I have a right to talk about whatever I want to talk about. But does it qualify me to talk about it? No. Hence the reason why I say in the beginning of my videos, I am absorbing all the information right now. I am learning about UK politics. I am learning about Scottish politics and their system there. I'm learning about Indy Ref. I'm learning about Brexit. And I am learning. And as I've also said before, I am not made a decision on whether or not Scottish independence is a good or bad thing because I haven't collected enough information yet. And another reason why I'm interested in the Scots is because, well, growing up in a family that was proud of its Scottish heritage, we would go to the Scottish games every year. One of my uncles actually traveled to Scotland several times, and he had the full kilt, bagpipes, everything. He even had all of the I forget the name of it, but he had the daggers that went in the socks, and he had the whole thing, and he could play the bagpipes. He actually played the bagpipes once at our house. He's, the whole neighborhood could hear. He marched in a circle in our front yard playing Amazing Grace. It was impressive. It was quite impressive. So, like I said before, does that qualify me in any way? No, but I'm not claiming to be qualified, right? As I was just explaining a minute ago. So, I'm not claiming to be qualified. I'm claiming to be getting informed. That's what I'm doing. And I'm commenting and sharing my thoughts as I'm becoming informed here. And people that know me, if you know my other channel, right? Avery's right here because Making a Murderer. If you know me on my other channel, you know I have a reputation for speaking reasonably about things that can get heated. So, once again, why not talk about this? Instead of asking me why I am talking about this, maybe ask yourself, why not talk about it? So, that's my influence. That's one of the reasons why I kind of care about this issue. I also have some friends in Scotland, One of them is very pro-independence. One of them is very much on the fence about independence. So, I even understand that not all Scots agree on this. So, that's there. For me, this is an interesting thing, and I'm creating a discussion. Not claiming to be an expert and not claiming to be any of those things. But I may bring some people on who are a lot more informed than I am. That'll be coming. All right, so let's go ahead and get to it. What we're here to talk about today is the fact that Nicola Sturgeon sent a letter, whatever, basically sent the paperwork over asking Boris Johnson, who is the Prime Minister of the UK, to send them the ability, so that Scottish Parliament can hold an Indy referendum. Basically, they have to ask Westminster to allow that to happen, and that's why there's such a big, hubbub over Indy referendum right now. Anyway, she sent it over requesting it. Well, we got the answer from Boris Johnson a couple days ago. It's taken me a couple days to get around to this. So we got the response from him, and I'm going to say right now, folks, I'm going to say right now, going into this, just so that the unionists out there do not misinterpret here. Number one, congratulations to Boris Johnson and the Conservatives. Congratulations for winning the majority there in the UK, and congratulations to you. Okay? That's democracy in action. The people got out and they voted. In England and in Wales, the people got out and they voted Conservative. Okay? So, in half of the UK, people came out and voted for you, and you got your majority, and you're going to be able to do what you want to do. So, congratulations on that. You had a 43.5% share of the vote. Okay? 43.5. Significant. It is a very significant percentage. Okay? What we're going to see here is, in this letter, he's going to be denying the Indy referendum. And I just think it's interesting that democracy and the percentage of the voters, it only applies for him and his party and no one else. And that's what really, from this letter, my takeaway is. Because I don't see them being very genuine when they talk about this. So we're going to go ahead and look at the letter itself here, and then we'll come on back, and I'm going to talk about a few more things before we're done. Okay, so here we are looking at the letter sent from Boris Johnson in answer back to Nicola Sturgeon. So here it says, "Dear Nicola, thank you for your correspondence of the 19th of December 2019. I have carefully considered and noted the arguments set out for a transfer of power from the UK Parliament to the Scottish Parliament to allow for further independence referendums. You and your predecessor made a personal promise that the 2014 independence referendum was a once-in-a-generation vote. I've never seen no proof of a promise. I've seen it. I've seen that they were saying that, but I've yet to see it as a promise. So not sure if that's actually true. The people of Scotland voted decisively on that promise to keep our United Kingdom together, a result which both Scottish and UK governments committed to respect in the Edinburgh Agreement." Now, I'm not sure what he's talking about here. He says decisively. That's a disingenuous word. Winning by 2% or 4%. I mean, that kind of a small margin. That's not decisive. But then again, he thinks that the Brexit vote was decisive. Once again, when you're close to 50-50, that's not really decisive. That's not what decisive means. Anyways. So that's just something that I notice right there. The UK government will continue to uphold the democratic decision of the Scottish people and the promise that you made to them. For that reason, I cannot agree to any request for a transfer of power that would lead to further independence referendums. Another independence referendum would continue the political stagnation that Scotland has seen for the last decade, which Scottish schools, hospitals, and jobs, again, left behind because of a campaign to separate the UK. That's very interesting because it's in Scotland, they don't have to pay for their medications. At 60 years old, you can ride the bus for free in Scotland. There's a lot of things that Scotland's doing for the people that is not happening over in England and Wales. So I find that an interesting claim, but we'll obviously be, scrutinizing that further. It is time that we all work to bring the whole of the United Kingdom together and unleash the potential of this great country. Yours, what does that say? Anyway, whatever it says, Boris, right? Okay, so here he has denied to give the Scottish Parliament the ability to do a referendum. Now, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about why I think this isn't entirely honest on his part. I believe he has an interest in holding the UK together because he doesn't want his legacy to be, Scotland left, and the UK, fragmented, and he doesn't want that to happen on his watch. I get it, but there's some things going on that are kind of, can't be ignored if you actually do believe in the principles of democracy. And so we'll talk about that now. Okay, so here's what I have to say about that letter, really. I mean, Boris is within his right to deny it. That's, it was his choice to make. But here's a couple of the things that stick out to me. Because I did follow the UK elections. I followed them closely. Boris Johnson and the Conservatives got 43.5%, or 43.5% of the votes in the UK. All right, and he claims that's a mandate for him to get Brexit done, and that's fine. I don't begrudge him that. He's right. The people went out and voted Conservative in England and in Wales. And they said, let's do it. The two countries that didn't vote for Brexit, that didn't vote to leave the EU, did something completely different. They voted in a majority of nationalist MPs. That is an indicator of something. And the more I hear the Conservatives continuing to say that it doesn't matter, and that the fact that the SNP got 45% of the vote in Scotland, which is higher than 43.5, doesn't matter. That's disingenuous. That is disingenuous. That is the meaning of disingenuous. Okay? So these are a couple things on the surface. Okay? Then there's all that hoopla about the fact that this once in a generation thing. Okay, I think that was said as a soundbite. Somebody can prove me wrong, go ahead and prove me wrong. But I would imagine, as much as everybody talks about it, that I would be able to see somebody making this promise. But even if it was made, let's just assume, let's go ahead and grant that it was a promise made by Nicola and whoever else, right? That it was a hard, rock solid promise made. Okay, well, in the Indy or Indy referendum, agreement or whatever it is, that the agreement is that they wouldn't hold another Indy referendum for a while unless one of two things happens. And both of those things are happening, by the way, now. Both of them are happening. Number one is a very significant change in the government. In this case, in Westminster. Yeah, sorry, but Brexit is a very big change, especially to the two parts of the UK that didn't vote for it. Okay? It is a very, very big change. So, that is met. Okay? Number two, if the Scottish people get out and make their will known, that's what they did. 45% of the vote. Okay? 48 out of 59 seats that are available in Scotland went to the SNP. Okay, yeah, that's a message being sent. Over in Ireland, you got a majority of nationalist MPs. The Conservatives got voted out, and now there's a majority of nationalist MPs. The writing's on the wall. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I feel bad for all the parties involved here. But the fact of the matter is that Scotland is getting drug out of the UK against its, or it's getting drug out of the EU against its will. Okay? That's what's happening. They voted to stay. And I'm going to use a word here correctly that Boris Johnson used disingenuously, and that is that the Scottish people decisively voted against leaving the EU. Okay? 64%. Okay, that's nearly 2/3 of the people voted that they wanted to stay in the EU. That's democracy. Okay, that's what the people of Scotland feel. So, whether or not they agree on independence is another issue, but like I said, significant change to the government, and what do you know? 45% of the vote in Scotland goes to the SNP. 48 out of 59 seats. Right? It's disingenuous to claim that there's not sufficient reason at this point, when it looks to me like both requirements have been met. So, when it comes down to it, like I said earlier, I'm not exactly convinced that Scottish independence is good for Scotland. That's the other side of this, because I am very much worried about Scotland and that they're going to be able to, shift and move forward. But so I'm that's why I'm still collecting information and getting informed about this, because I don't want Scotland to just jump without looking. I want Scotland to be under control and knowing what they're doing and knowing what they're getting into. Because, it's a big decision. And it certainly shouldn't be made lightly. So, that's where I stand on that. Hope everybody out there is maybe having, some thoughts about possibly just, opening up the conversation here. Because I'm basically just talking about it. I will continue to talk about it because, number one, it's just interesting in a lot of ways to me. And number two, I have a lot of friends over there, or I have, a number of friends over there in the UK, Scotland, and England, and, so, I like to be able to talk about these things, and like I said, the Scots are near and dear to my heart, because I grew up, very much, in a family that was very proud of its Scottish heritage. So, hope everybody enjoyed it. Obviously there's, Brexit's going to be happening at the end of the month. Like I said, that's the democratic will of the people there in the UK. So, that's what's happening. And so congratulations, but let's be a little bit more genuine about the Scottish independence issue, because the more I see disingenuous statements, the worse I feel about the whole entire situation. Because if people can't, see the writing on the wall, and which is clearly there, it's a disturbing thing to consider, So, hopefully, maybe, just maybe, Boris is a better leader than I think he is. But I don't think so. He seems very, very selfish. I don't think he has the qualities of a great leader. And I truly believe, judging from what I'm seeing from him, that his attempts to hold the kingdom together are going to create such rifts and divides that it would only be a matter of time. And unless he pulls a rabbit out of the hat and becomes a leader that I don't think he can be. But we'll see. I'm watching, I'm observing, and we'll see. So, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you